these guys spend a lot of effort on texturing, and I saw in the last AAW meeting, the one down in North Carolina a couple of years ago, that I can't remember the guy's name, but it was a turner from France that had done some grit blasting of white oak, and he actually made it quartz. So I've been thinking about trying to do that, and about a week ago, I was in my neighbor's basement, and I saw something, and I asked him what it was. He said, "Well, that's a sandblasting cabinet." I said, "Oh." He says, "I'm going to borrow that." He said, "Well, you can have it." So I hadn't used it in 15 years. And so I got a sandblasting cabinet, and I got the details on. You can get them about $300 from across the way at Northern Tool. And the grit they have is a glass grit. And anyway, so I set the thing up.
We hit slideshow.
That's
There you go.
All right. So that's the cabinet. It's about we'll put the dimensions later, but it's basically 2 feet wide, 18 inches deep, and stands about so tall. So it fits on a bench pretty easily. And it comes with the gun, and I dumped 50 pounds of the this glass grit in the cabinet. People say the grit is expensive. This stuff is $15 for 50 pounds, and it doesn't go anywhere when you got it in the cabinet. So I started playing with it, and this is, I'll pass this around. This is a white oak little urn that I made and blasted all parts of it, and then put a varnish on it. And it's really quite easy to do. So that was the biggest key.
Did you intend to have the holes, or were they already there?
The holes on that was where worms had been in there, and there weren't actually holes there, but when the grit hit that, they became holes almost immediately. So yes, originally I was hoping to actually make it more of a lace, and I'll pass these things around. This is a piece of white oak that you can see. It looks like a lace. You can see right through it. I was going to do that on the bowl on that, but Dan told me 1/8 of an inch is actually pretty thick if you want to try to blast one portion of it away and still keep the growth rings and the ridges. So, but this is a thinner piece, so I'm going to have to learn how to follow Dan's way of making things thin.
Well, from that, I think that piece is tapered, or at least one of them was. Did you figure out what the optimum thickness should be?
There's no, I have no clue. You can't tell that from here. It depends how long I held the gun on it. So, what's that?
How quickly does it take stuff away?
Very quick.
Yeah.
Not so quick that, I mean, if, like with this, I would stand there and go back and forth like this for a minute or two or something. And then I got a nice light shining down. So just hold it up while it's still in the cabinet. You can see it. And the back of the cabinet, well, that slide disappeared, but the back of the cabinet I had hooked up to my dust collection system. So there's absolutely nothing that's getting out into the room.
Where'd you get the cabinet?
I got it from my neighbor for free, but they have it, and I got the information at the end of this slide. I'm going to send this to Chuck to put in the newsletter for next month, but it was $289 from Northern Tool. And it includes, what's that?
How big's your air compressor running?
That's the other thing. Mine is 5 cubic feet at 90 PSI. It's not quite big enough. But I've got a 10 cubic foot compressor on with a 60 gallon tank. This is a 27 gallon tank too. I got a bigger one coming that from another friend that I'm getting for a good deal.
If you slow down, can you use
You can use a smaller one. You just have to spray for a little while, And then as soon as the pressure starts dropping, when it gets to 60 pounds, it's really not picking up the grit. So, because it's a Venturi system that just picks up the grit from the bottom of the cabinet. So if you're willing to just spray a little bit, and as soon as the pressure drops, stop and let it build up, and it can still go.
How fine is the spray? Is it adjustable? Or is it,
The gun I have, the nozzle is a 1/4 inch, but the nozzles are replaceable. So you can get all different size nozzles. So you could put a smaller nozzle in and probably blow a hole through something a lot easier. But this is a piece of the white oak, and this is another piece of white oak but it's the sapwood that I shot on it, and a little bit on the other end of just, you can see it was just split, and just see what it looks like from so you can get different kinds of textures with it too. And then red oak, I have a piece of end grain piece, and that one looks kind of neat. That's all gone through, and that took like 2 minutes to do. It was quite.
And how thick is that?
What's that?
How thick is that?
That, it's about
Oh, okay, I see.
less than an eighth, but not as long as a 16. And on this one, this again is a different grain. You can see, so it just puts a pattern on it to do that. And it went through in a few places too. And this is just some other pieces. Now this is a piece of red bud, and I had turned it, and somebody made a comment at our wood thing the other night that last week that, oh, I turned something on red bud, it splits. Mine did too. But but spraying it with the grit actually brings it kind of looks kind of neat with the pattern on the.
So
Is it still going on?
yeah,
I thought it ended at 8.
This is a piece of cherry.
shit. What time's it? Yeah,
It's
8 o'clock.
after 8.
8:30, yeah.
If you
I've
look
heard
at
enough.
it, you can see some of the grain in it and things, but if you got some rot and things like that, boy, it cleans that up really fast. So for other things, that's another thing that would be kind of neat to use. And so I should have been, for the people on that's the blasting media that I got, 15 pounds per bag. So these are the pieces that I'm sending around, and you can see what it looked like before there was finish on it.
Does
These are
the wood that comes off get clogged up in
it probably ends up in with the grit in the cabinet. Some of the really dusty stuff gets sucked out with the air that goes out of the cabinet. Because when I don't have the dust collector on, there's really not a lot coming out, but you can smell it. You can smell the kind of wood. So they put the dust collector on, everything's gone. It's very clean that way.
I heard that you can use walnut shells as a blasting media that would be lighter.
I've got some. I haven't tried it yet. My
Right there.
neighbor-
Are you coming out or?
Yeah, I'm trying. I'm trying to solve.
I haven't tried it. This glass stuff, I went online and somebody else said this glass stuff works no good. So at the price, that's what I figured I would use. The walnut shells, I think, are going to be softer, and I don't think I'm guessing they're not going to work very well on wood. But if you're trying to polish something, it would probably work. But I've got that. I've got some of the steel stuff too, which someone said don't use that on wood because you'll never get it out. But so I've got, these are just, all right, so this just says, a larger compressor would be good, and I'll let you know how that works out. After blasting for a while, all of a sudden I was, and you guys know when you use a compressor, now it's got some water in the air. So as soon as it started getting the wood wet, it didn't work so well. So I need to figure out how I can build an air dryer too.
Did you use any masking to get?
You can. I've read about that. People will get put masks on things and then cut the mask to the shapes and things that they want and then blast that. And that's a very popular thing for.
Did they push things?
Yeah, yeah. I actually, when I looked at that, I was thinking, I'm gonna try something like that. A lot easier than carpeting. I think, we'll find out.
You'll still need to do some work.
Yeah, I'm sure. Well, the other thing is, I've got this set up, and anybody wants to play and try it, you're welcome to come over and give it a shot.
That's cool.
You know, I've got, it's really quick and easy, and it's not like, I'm just, you know, it doesn't take up a lot of space. I just kind of have to, I haven't got a good spot yet, but I got to tuck in the corner. I'll get the bigger compressor hopefully in the next week or two, and it's, I mean, it's.
I want to know how we find these great prints.
Well, I've made a number of pieces of furniture and stuff for him too. But yeah, I mean, he had an old truck that he restored, and he bought this thing 20 years ago to sandblast some of its parts, and then he would paint. And it's been sitting in his basement. The gloves were rotted away, so I had to buy new gloves. They had them in stock across the street. I got them last Thursday, and so I've only had this thing for a week. And it's I'm lazy, so I mean, it's a lot easier than some other ways of texturing.
Steve,
So-
how'd you say you got the wood dust out of the grit when it's all said and done?
Well, I haven't tried.
Okay.
I think you probably could pretty easily, because it's going to be light. You can almost put it in something like and then blow air through it.
Yeah.
And just the lighter stuff will come out. So I think you can do that, but I haven't tried.
All in a bucket of water, the wood's gonna come to the top.
Yeah, then you gotta get all the glass dry again, but I think there's a lot. I don't think it's gonna be a problem. But if it is, at $15 for 50-pound bag, throw that one away and get another one. So, and this is a piece of burl that I blasted. You can see, you can get a little bit of texture on that too, but it's the hard, if the different parts of the wood are almost the same hardness, it isn't gonna do a good job. But that's why the oak is really a nice thing to work on. And I haven't tried, that's what I've tried to do. I will try more. And like I say, if there was enough interest, I could bring the thing in here sometime. We could, people could bring parts in and could play with them. But I have to find out what kind of compressor they have here and if they'd be willing to let me do that. But it's an option at some point.